Hi and welcome to TineeGames, where the gameplay is small and the mistakes are big. Today we're going to be playing a game I found recently on Steam called Our Life. So let's get to it, I guess. Hi, this is editor me, future me. I'm looking through this video now and I realized that the tutorial was really long and I tried to read all of it. So I'm just gonna mute this part. Yeah, it'd probably be better to just skip forward a little bit. I'll put a timestamp here somewhere. That's for future me. Okay, bye. Okay, we are now in, I guess, the creator part where we create our character. I'm gonna go for peachy shape, so cute. I'm gonna go for brown skin. Yeah. And what type of eyes do I want? Oh, they're so cute, but they look kind of sleepy. I think I'm gonna go for the oval eyes and the eye color. Oh, I like the grey ones. I also like black. I think I'm gonna just keep it with black. The hair. You know what? I think I'm gonna go for oh my gosh, eye covered. I like the braided front actually. And for the back, oh, that ponytail's so cute. I'm gonna have locks because I have locks in real life. So what hair colors do they have? Oh, that'd be so cool. I kind of dig this already. It reminds me of 101 Dalmatians. I think I'm gonna keep it like this, you know. Okay. So we're gonna put in Tiny, and then the last one, Games. And she will be a she. What else is there? I don't think I even went onto the next page. Change page. What's on the next page? Ooh, birthmarks. Okay, we got this one. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, that one. I think I'm gonna keep this eyebrow one. I like it. I don't really like any of the scars. Or the rosy cheek. Freckles. Maybe some nose freckles. That's quite cute. Hand size. Slender, medium, or chubby. I'm gonna stick with chubby. Do you want any glasses? No. I think I'm gonna keep it like that. Okay, change page. Birthmarks. Huh. I mean, you can't really see. I can't really see her body, so I think we're just gonna leave all of this. Clothing types. I guess pants and shirt, dresses. Let's just do all of them, and all the accessories as well. Okay, great. let's do a 3. Okay, it goes back to the beginning again. Okay, I'm done then. I'm done. Okay, so summer in Sunsetburg was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your mums didn't like you to wander too far outside of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. Mums? Oh, we got 2 mums. Cool. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunsetburg, but they mostly stayed and did what your mum called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar friendly residents waved or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Okay. So what are our options? You didn't really get why they always had to say hi. They saw you every day, but you nodded back at them anyways. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones. You were too anxious to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all knew you well enough to expect that. I think I'm gonna go with the second one. Okay. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Why did I think that? That's so weird. Okay, whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunsetburg was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your mums called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your mums had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. Okay, what are our options? You hadn't exactly been listening at the time. You think it could be okay to talk to new people. Wait, we're in the stage 1, right? So that means we must be a child. So they mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them, or you remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite then. I don't want to get kidnapped, so maybe we'll choose that. Okay, you weren't sure about this man yet. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door, but you were pretty interested. You wanted to know more about what was going on. Whether he was nice enough, you didn't want to be bothered. I mean, I don't really want to be bothered, to be honest. You slowed down as you thought about how you could get around this. There was a split second where your eyes met. That wasn't good. He was probably going to say something now that he'd seen you standing around here. Hey! You were right, his deep voice called out to you, but you didn't say anything. Unfortunately, the man stood up and started to make his way towards you. Okay. Not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared. Still unsure about him, but willing to be friendly, you offered the stranger a smile. Your whole body was frozen in place as he approached. Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't want to seem too approachable, but I don't want to be rude either. I don't want to get kidnapped. Am I going to get kidnapped? I'm still going to be a bit friendly. I don't want to get kidnapped though. The man gives a grin of his own back. Do you live around here? What's your name? You looked at the man up and down, taking in his tan skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. Okay. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. Well, at least he looks friendly, but looks can be deceiving. Yeah, I live here. I live right there. My name is Tiny. You can just say nothing. Why would I tell some random stranger where I live? If you do, he rubbed the back of his neck uncomfortably, giving you a small smile. Okay. Why is he offering us money? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It wrinkled in his hands as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Well, could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I should have. Let me start over. Yes, I think you should, sir. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. Okay. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. Cove. That seemed like a strange name for an actual person to you. That's kind of rude. Names are important. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. Okay. You thought that was pretty cool. I mean, that seems like the best option, really. Okay. You've never met anyone with that name. Okay, Cove's dad. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be TineeGames, right? I met your mums earlier and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Oh, he wants to bribe us, I see. Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid, you'll like him.
Do you mind?
But you've got to keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. That's weird. Why are you trying to pay people to be your son's friend? What kind of kid is he? You eyed the man. You kind of felt sorry for Cove. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendships? I know, right? It's so weird. I kind of feel sorry for him. This definitely wasn't the normal way kids made friends. You knew that. What'd you say? Want to make a deal? Hell no. You took the bill. You didn't want the money. You ran away. I'm gonna run away. You spun around and made a break for it. What are our options? Stranger danger. No thanks, old man. You don't offer any explanation. You just focus on getting away. I'm gonna say no thanks, old man. You turned on the spot and bolted down the street, ignoring his calls from behind you. Hey, come back. I'm sorry if I scared you. You are scary. Who does that? I didn't know how else to ask. The soles of your shoes slapped against the concrete sidewalk as you ran, heat from the sun warm on your face. Oh gosh. Okay. Step 1. First sight. Eventually his shouting faded into the distance. You let yourself slow down and try and catch your breath, wiping the sweat from your forehead with the back of your hand. The chirping of crickets in tall dry grass echoed around you, and you lifted your head to survey your surroundings. You'd run right into the hills behind your house's backyard. Wow, I can't speak English, oh my gosh. From here you could probably get back inside without seeing the guy again. Okay, there was a loose plank on the back fence, too small to fit through, but you could try waving to Lizzie for help. The fence was pretty high, but if you stood on the neighbour's shorter fence post first, you might be able to pull yourself over. You would be able to hide here until he left, then you'd go through the front door. I mean, if we're behind our house anyways. Too small to fit through. Isn't he our neighbour anyways? Would I really want to like break his fence or something? Maybe I should hide for a little bit. You could peek around the corner and make sure he was gone before making a break for it. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try to relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. Aww. Though deer didn't have, green hair, wavy eyebrows, huge glasses, pink car, sad frowns. To be honest, deers don't have any of these things. Am I just being too literal? Maybe I should go for green hair. I like his hair colour. But this new boy did. You watched as it fluttered softly around his face in the breeze. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another. And then he glanced your way. Oh god, that scared me. It was just the eye that moved. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi, hey there, Space Cadet, are you lost? Who says hey, Space Cadet? Hi. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his side. Okay. Oh no, he's crying. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. Why is he crying? You'd obviously caught him off guard. He was your age, but he didn't look familiar. Maybe he was the boy that weird new neighbour had been talking about before you ran. The only way to actually know was to ask. Who are you? I've never seen you. What's your name anyways? You waited for him to say something. Maybe I'll wait for him to say something. He sniffled a little, rubbing at his ruddy cheeks before he finally spoke. My name's Cove. You could see him hesitate, shifting his eyes to the side and then back to you again. My dad and me, we moved here. Your guess was confirmed. So, is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. Yep, you can't on the hill, you shook your head. You can't on the hill, really. Why not? Okay, why are you giving us stink eye? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Oh, was he rich like that? Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it travelled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? Why did your family move? Well, why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Oh no, we made him cry again. Almost like they'd never stopped. His tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. Oh, they must have divorced, They don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mum made my dad leave and he took me with him, and now we have a house here and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. Poor kid. I'm sorry. You'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. Stop crying. Could you imagine? Stop crying. After all of that. I think he'll get used to it, surely. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. Oh no. Sunset Bed was a nice place to live. It had a beach, playgrounds, a good school, at least you thought so. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Tinee.
Cove?
Cove. Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. You can handle it. You have to go. Don't worry so much. Sorry, I have to. It will be okay. Oh my gosh, I just noticed that these are different colours. I wonder what it means. Okay. I think, don't worry so much. Don't worry so much. Sure, maybe it's weird and you're not gonna like it. But your dad's there too, right? Yeah. So you're not really all by yourself. Even if it feels like it, you just gotta tell him how you feel. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself to your feet. You can't do anything if you don't make him hear you, right? Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked towards the sound of his dad's voice, silent, and turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm. What's his arm? Sorry, I still don't want to go. You called it yourself, you waited silently with him, you tried to convince him. It's nighttime, let's go. You called out yourself. Wanting to go home, you raised your own voice. Over here! Oh no, he's mad at us. Okay. Cove's face soured. He said nothing, but his thoughts were probably pretty nasty at that moment. It looks it. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you and they rushed over. Both of your mums were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Tinee, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbour. I thought you might have gone off further away. You know, we were just sitting in the grass, while everyone acting like it's such a big thing. But okay, don't worry, Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Do we rat this kid out? Don't want to be rude for saying being rude. We're just sitting in the grass. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? He looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. You sure? I guess I like him. Why would I want to marry him? We're both 8. Why would I think that? You didn't think that was the right word to describe it, but you weren't sure what else to say to your mums. Oh, he's still mad. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thank you very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Tinee knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. We should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove.
Bye.
The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading towards the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper play date tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Okay, sure, can I show him my stuff? It sounds like words. You nodded, ducking your head down. Yeah, let's show him our stuff.
Of course.
Let's be friends. Of course. Then okay. Both of your mums laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mummy put her arm around your shoulders and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Okay. Choose your feelings for Cove. This is how you feel towards Cove for this step. It can change in later steps. Okay. Why do we look so sad? Yeah, I wouldn't be in love with him. That was so weird. I'm indifferent. I really don't care about this kid that much. At all. Comfort. We're fine. We're relaxed. What's this? Can we not just be happy? Okay, let's just be relaxed. Yeah, ready. Begin step 1 at relaxed indifference. You won't be able to change it again until step 2. Yeah, should be fine. Early the next morning, you were poking at your food, eating it slowly. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your mums had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Tinee? Maybe we can become friends.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah, haha, I don't know, am I? The bowl was entirely empty, so you nodded. With all the exasperation an 8-year-old can muster. Oh, why are we being rude? You looked at your empty cereal bowl, then at Mum.
Okay.
Okay, attitude kid, we see. I didn't want to be rude. Good job, you should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then, on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Oh, I just missed something. Okay, because Mum said so, you wandered over to the door. Hey Games family, thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your mums have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him and Mum and Mummy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. You studied Cove apathetically. This was the parents' plan, not yours. Not seeming any more excited than you were, you just stared back. Okay, you twisted the threaded bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the crystal bead bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the flower bead bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the shell bracelet on your wrist. Let's have a crystal bead bracelet. That could be fun. Do you want to play in your room, Tinee? Sure. Come on, it's upstairs.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids.
See you.
Okay, you led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Me too, I drew that, thank you, I don't. Why wouldn't you like your own picture you put up on the wall? Cool. Okay, he finally smiled. Oh my gosh, he was so, mean mugging us. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You started to feel a bit nervous. You felt the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You were glad for the company. You hoped he liked your room. Yeah. You had put a lot of effort into making your room as nice as it was. You hoped he didn't say anything bad about it. Oh. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you'd collected, tucked away by your door. You took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach. Oh, do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cole flopped down next to it. I think so, yeah, see? You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Who's Shiloh? Oh right, I almost forgot. Shiloh is going to be here today. Shiloh? Lizzie's friend. Or her number one fan, I guess. Do I have to see him? Why are you in such a bad mood now? It should be okay. I mean, he's Lizzie's friend, not mine. But you know. Come on, check out my shells some more. I found this one under a big piece of seaweed that had washed ashore, and you pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past few years, you'd even learned some of their scientific names. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Your voice faltered a little bit. You could keep going, but you kept going as best as you could. I don't care about seashells. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened to what looked like the full force of his attention. Like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back into the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost a twin to his home. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, even if it was only directed at the shells. Kids, come down into the... I can't speak. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mummy wasn't giving you much of a choice to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because you found each other by accident and a parent didn't make it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be what? Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great, okay, be careful. You should have asked. I don't care, they're shelves. They're shells. I will. You weren't sure if you could trust someone else with your treasures yet, so you stayed next to him while he opened the lid and peered inside. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken loud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. That's my favourite too. I like a different one best. I can show it to you. You can take it. You can take it. I don't care about shells. Cove looked at you in surprise, his eyes gone wide. Really? Why doesn't he look happy? Sure, you like it a lot, right? Uh-huh, but I don't want to take it from you. It's okay. You got the impression he was hesitant to accept something because he didn't know you very well. You insisted or you let it go? Well, just let it go, I guess. Okay. Oh, he smiled again. Yay! You didn't want to pressure Cove too much. It was supposed to make him happy, not nervous. Plus, Cove was your neighbour now. Maybe you could give it to him another time. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. You knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be alright. He's here, we can't tell him to leave. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Why are we hiding from this kid? Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Why are you trying to run? What is going on? Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. Do you want to break your other arm? Shiloh is the least scary person alive. Cheer up, Shiloh's gonna like you. Please don't get hurt. I'll come with you. Good idea, let's go. Every single bunny rabbit is scarier than Shiloh. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. You teased him, you comforted him, you encouraged him. Why would I tease him? Hey, if you do have a hard time with him, I'll tell him to leave. Is that okay? Okay. Man, we made him mad again. This kid is always mad. Shiloh poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he'd heard what you'd been saying or not. But you guessed that he had.
Hi!
Oh my god, this kid is a baby. Tiny. Hi. Sorry. And hi, Cove. Cove shot you an uneasy glance.
Hi.
This kid is so... What's the word? Why is he so, like... annoying? I think this kid's annoying. Is he the main love interest? What? I don't like him. I'm Shiloh. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Right, I do. What are you guys doing? We're looking at shells.
Can I do it too?
Awesome, can I do it too? Cole shrugged, then looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else. Hey, check out this scallop shell I found. Cool, right? It's a pretty colour, kind of like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice colour. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favourite? Not really. This dude! What is? Maybe green or blue, it might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
I guess. I like those colours too. They are better colours. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence. You look back at your shells. I don't want to be around shells anymore.
Awesome!
Shells are so boring. Why are we playing with shells? Awesome. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Ain't he Lizzie's friend? Why is he hanging out with us? Okay, whatever. Lizzie was his favourite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know.
Aww.
Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Please show me, I want to go. You started getting up before you had even answered. Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, Tiny? The park is fun. I love it, the park's really great. No. Let's go to the park. Yeah, it's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. This kid is so grumpy. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. You packed up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your mums, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your mums that it was so short she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes gone wide. Tiny, Shiloh. Hi. She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You weren't sure if this was an improvement. Yeah, because he's so freaking grumpy. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new.
Hi!
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured wildly with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove whispered in your ear quiet enough that the others would overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills. You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wiggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie's the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Tiny's age.
Yeah.
Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about the other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try and steal your youth. Oh. For a second, it looked like he might cry again. Why is he such a crybaby? Oh my gosh. But something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like mums and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Only some of them don't like us. Let's do something that they will upset him. Yeah, they're really bad. Hey, let's not scare this kid. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Tinee in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer's over. I don't want to go to new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. Yeah, I feel for you, Shiloh. Poor you. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort, at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely. You didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. That's right. Okay. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. That first summer, you hadn't really been interested in him one way or another. He was just kind of a fact of life, someone you met with because he was there. Of course, that was only the start of things. Okay, moments. That's that one. What's shopping? Wait! Oh, I just clicked on it! Did I press an option without realizing? Come back before it gets dark, right, Sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you'd been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you'd first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two.
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Tinee? Taking a walk. I found a pretty cool snail across the road. There's lots of snails around here. Mr. Holden grinned at you kindly. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You shrugged. Cove was in the process of making a similar motion. You didn't have anything else to do, and you hadn't been to the stores in a few days. Maybe there was something new to look at. Maybe. Is that okay?
I guess.
I was going by myself, but I guess it is. You don't have to. God, this kid doesn't make it easy, does he? Great. I'm sure you guys will have lots of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd since your mum's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend too. Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up, the bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and it slipped into his pocket. Then with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. He followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for snails? Are you looking for shells? What is it? You didn't feel need to ask why. Well, he liked shells, so maybe we should ask him about the shell. Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled, sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You could manage that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. This kid is always grumpy. You didn't either. What did you go to the shops for? What do you usually do on the beach? I needed a new sand pail. Yeah? To your old one. Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second.
Whoa.
It disappeared. What? Really? Dove ducked his head down, lacing his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so you nudged his arm. How did that happen? Well, Cove opened his mouth then shut it again, considering. I took it to the beach one day. Uh-huh. When I got home, it wasn't anywhere. You left it there? Nope. It wasn't at the beach when I went back. Then you lost it. It disappeared.
So...
What about you? What do you do out here? I don't come to the beach a lot. I like swimming. I like looking at fish. I like to build sandcastles. I'm gonna be boring and say sandcastles. Last summer, Lizzie and I built one that was as tall as me. And sometimes they have sandcastle building competitions down by the boardwalk. Cool. I bet you could win. You smiled at Cove. Maybe the two of you would build one together one day. Finally, he's smiling again. This kid's so grumpy. Okay. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It's nice, it's not very nice, right? It's nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you. There was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large colourful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander. In the centre of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read, "The Amazing Alexander," in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the Amazing Alexander began shuffling the cards. Maybe we could stay and watch. Oh God, his face! Cove glanced back at the man, then he briefly lifted his arm up off his sides before returning them to place. You grinned, waving for him to follow you as you raced back to the stand in the crowd. Oh no! Somehow I accidentally skipped something. Okay, it was the 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers and the card just disappeared. Whoa! Cove is obviously not impressed. The Amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Nothing, tell me you backed away. Could you imagine backing away from a trick that you're so excited to see? And I'm like, tell me. This has to be going somewhere and you need to find out. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped over. It was great. You felt a tug and he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. Whoa. You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it. There was light applause from the crowd and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down to his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you are really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits, not the balloons, the stuff with cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Maybe it wasn't so special. Cove is just really fun, at least you had a fun time. I wonder if Cove's whole family's magic. He is just ruining the fun. He'll take the spoils from the encounter with Alexander, but not appreciate his tricks. That isn't a very good attitude. At least you had a fun time. You wondered if the Amazing Alexander knew how to make people disappear as well as cards. Oh no, do we hate him now? The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side there was a whole racket of brightly coloured kaleidoscopes on display. You picked up a kaleidoscope, you picked up a Rubik's Cube, you picked up a Magic 8 Ball. I think Magic 8 Ball is more fun. Ooh, these are cool. You shifted your balloon string to the other hand so you could hold it up in front of you. Then you thought of a question in your mind, shaking the ball and feeling some kind of liquid slush around inside. Once you had given it a good shake, you held it upright, waiting for the answer to appear. Concentrate and ask again. You wrinkled your nose and set the Magic 8 Ball back on the rack. It wasn't the answer you were hoping for. You followed Cove around to the other side of the store. Wait, what do we even ask it? He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Did you have places like this in your own town and having fun? I don't remember if he said that. I wonder if he's having fun. Cove didn't answer straight away. And after a few more moments, you thought he wasn't going to say anything at all. A little. When Cove moved towards some stores nearby, you followed beside him. Oh, more toys. While Cove looked at sandpels, you were drawn to a table with colourful keychains laid out on it. They were sewn in the shapes of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, and a turtle. Oh, the shark one looks so cute. You picked up the dolphin, shark, crab. Oh, the shark. The shark was so cute. Your hand stopped on the shark, a devious smirk filled with sharp teeth on its face. You weren't supposed to go near sharks in real life, but there was something about this shark you liked, and the fabric on its back was soft when you picked it up. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money.
Alright.
It's fine. Oh, is he gonna buy it for us? Really? Really? Are you sure? Hooray! You don't have to. I don't need to get it for me. I kind of want the shark. Cove took the keychain from your hand, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself too. My dad told me to. Oh yeah. Now that makes me not want the keychain. You smiled, pleased to have things worked out. It was nice for Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you too. You had to remember to thank him next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling around in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey Cove, yeah? Your dad gives out money a lot, huh? I really like this keychain. Well, we're not going to talk about the dad giving out money, because then he's going to know that the dad tried to buy a friendship. I really like this keychain. Thank you. Cove shrugged, looking at the sea creature with impassive eyes. Cove looked further down the street where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over to you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cole got something sweet and cinnamony, and you got a plain one, got all cheese with sprinkles, got all chocolate. I don't know what goes good with pretzels. I've never had a pretzel before. I'll say cheese, why not? You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. It was covered in gooey melted cheese, just the way you liked it. It seemed odd to get a dessert pretzel before eating normal food. Oh, it's a dessert pretzel. Ew, that'd be gross then if it had cheese on it. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist. Oh! Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled satisfied. Can you do it for me? I bet he's gonna make our balloon disappear. Let's see. Why is he giving us dirty looks again? He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand and the string already tangled around the other.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. I guess our balloon is staying with us. Yay! The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching of your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, saving the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time you finished your pretzel, you were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hand, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned to face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cole, he had left the remaining parts of his pretzel on the wrapper and he was gripping his dolphin too. Mine's name is Merriweather. He's the prince of the dolphins. Mine's name is Splash. They star in the movies. Mine's name. Why are they saying it like that? Mine's name. Mine's name is Cherry. She's actually an alien. Mine's name is Sam. They're just a regular dolphin. Let's choose Splash. Their trainers use fish and treats to help them perform tricks. They're the most famous dolphin in the world. You sighed, wishing you could star in a movie with a real-life dolphin. What's yours? Cole considered this question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation. It's... Oh no! With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no! For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock, like you. Oh man! He's gonna cry again! Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. You made a joke, you offered to find Alexander, you offered to give Cove your balloon. No, let's just give him our balloon. You could have my balloon instead if you want it. Cove looked over at you, frowning. I don't want yours. Oh. You felt bad for Cove, but you were secretly glad you really liked the little dolphin and weren't too eager to give it up. No, I wanted to give the balloon up. I mean, he bought us a little shark toy and everything. Cole spent the rest of the outing sniffling and didn't say much else. The passing of Cole's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cole went straight home with his brand new sand pelt in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset, fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been nice for the most part. Hopefully there wouldn't be any tears next time. Oh, okay. Can we do all of these then? Let's do sandcastle, because we spoke about sandcastles. Okay. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there's no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering and blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to get the cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something just to get it off his arm. Why does he even have it on his arm? You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mum and dad. But now he was here with you, Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad, it had all your favourite things in it, but sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that Not everyone else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said aloud what you'd been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids.
yeah.
Yeah. But we shouldn't have the cast. See, if I say that, you're just going to get grumpy again and be like, well, I do. I don't really care. It's so deep. Swimming might be fun if we could. I'm fine on land. Memories aren't real. Let's do swimming, could be fun. But it's not like there's anything we can do about it. Did I choose wrong again? Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how'd you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sandcastles. I've never really made them before. Somebody else did. I think we told him earlier that we made big sandcastles. Okay. He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cole through the process. You happily used your own method. Probably, I think. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now. Like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle. Cool. This is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a mansion. I'm gonna make a mansion. A house, a castle, mansion. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you built. Oh, is that what we built? It seems you got done so fast they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cole had a lot of the shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a red bottle cap, blue seashell, green piece of sea glass. Let's go for green sea glass. I like green. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly, so you put it in a funny place where it'd take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. You checked out Cove's sandcastle, checked out Shiloh's sandhouse. Why can't we look? Let's look at his sandcastle. The castle Cove had built looked surprisingly tidy, especially for someone in a cast. He must have worked really hard. He wasn't even finished digging a huge gaping moat in front, but it was already enormous. You got the sense from the enthusiasm he was digging with that the doctor was probably going to find a bunch of sand when he finally removed the pink plaster. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeped closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
It's good, that's smart. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, I guess I'll see it. You should be an architect. Colors my for. Why would I be mean? Does blue mean mean or something? You should be an architect. You'd be good at it, Shiloh. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for the current topic. Tinee, can I see what you did? Sure. You began surveying your work. All you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you'd gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at compared to Cove and Shadow's building, probably even bigger. Shadow quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey Tinee, what did you do? This is my mansion. It looks great. Your house is so big. It's not a big house, it's a mansion. I mean, we're 8. Do we really care about things like that? I guess mansions are just really big houses. Thanks. You just look at him. Could you imagine just staring at someone? I think it's too childish to do something like that. You're welcome. I don't think that's the same as a house. Huh? Is being a house bad?
No.
No. But we each made our own place. Nobody's the same. I think we are. God, are they arguing? Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm very special.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Shadow simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. Why are they so depressed? These are children. Why are you so depressed? Why are you thinking of such deep things? He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time he came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shadow shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shadow was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, Tinee? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you considered Cove's question. I wasn't there, they didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued.
Oh.
Well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Tiny's parents and my dad met the same day I met her. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. You stayed silent and let Cove finish his story. I think Shiloh wants to talk too. I don't care what either of them have to say. Is that bad? I don't care. I do want to make friends with Cove. Like, he's just such a grumpy kid. I do want to be friends with him, but I still think that Shiloh should get to speak. Ah, man, I made him mad again, didn't I? Huh? We were talking, just not right now. I'm talking to you. He can listen. Is this kid just here to make enemies? Oh my gosh. Shiloh's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked put off. Cole continued like the interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell the tale. Cole's a mean child. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your mums. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said, I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get in the way and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you gonna finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Like, I can't believe he stopped literally the other kid from talking just to say that. Okay. Why did you want to tell the story if nothing happened? You really gotta get better at telling stories. That was a pretty bad story, thanks for telling me. Like, what do I say to that? I can't believe he interrupted that kid and the little kid talk just to say that. I don't get what the point was. But that was how our parents met. I didn't make the story up. That's not really my point. Cove just was not understanding the issue here. Shallow's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief. But said nothing. I guess they're not gonna be friends, are they? Why'd you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Well,
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved to here. Dad showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. We thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shallow fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey Shiloh, yeah? Why are you always turning so red even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Either you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. This poor kid. Maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh, a huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody's named Cove.
who asked you to come?
Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad bugging Tiny's family some more, because you don't have anyone else who'll ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. Hey, let's build no sandcastle. You tried to play on your own. Are we gonna build more? You nervously messed with the sand. It's so awkward. Should we just go home? Where's the option to go home? I don't want to play my own though. You picked up some sand and turned it over in your hands. There didn't seem to be much you could do to stop the fire, and you weren't sure what to do with yourself. Cove looked over at what you were doing and started building his own set of walls. Shiloh took a breath before kneeling back down to his own patch of sand. It seemed they both decided to try playing again. You were glad for that. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. Cove and Shiloh had mostly followed your lead and barely said a word. His mom standing behind him. Even Shiloh's goodbye had been quiet, friendly, cheerful, but noticeably quiet. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together towards the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoe thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You asked Cove what he was thinking, you stayed silent. So asking what he was thinking. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask, "Hey Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face."
Oh,
I was just wondering. Cole fell silent again for a few more seconds and sighed. Why did Shiloh act like that when I said he was all red a lot? You were being rude to him. He's just being a baby. You shouldn't make fun of him. I don't know. Shiloh, he gets embarrassed. You shrugged. He was being rude. No, I wasn't. Dude, you were. It looked like that to me, and it wasn't just saying that one thing. You're not very nice to Shiloh. I didn't mean it like that. Shiloh is kind of weird to talk to. See? That's kind of rude. I guess. I get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. What Shiloh said didn't make sense anyway. Parents always talk to other parents and set up stuff so their kids play together. My dad didn't do anything weird. He struggled not to make a face at that. His dad definitely did something weird to try and get you to spend time with Cove. But Cove didn't know that. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Your dad does do with stuff, so you'll hang out with family. But Shiloh should have said that. You decided to tell her how his dad. Yeah, we're not telling him that his dad offered you money, offered us money. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Cove's shoulders relaxed. He hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I knew the whole time Shiloh shouldn't have been saying things like that. You nodded, but you didn't speak. You kept your eyes firmly on the ground. We better not be feeling guilty because we didn't take the money. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Bye, Cove. Your parents hadn't planned anything else for you, though you knew that you'd see him eventually. Cove nodded, already turning away. Bye, Tanya. You made your way to your house at a leisurely pace, going up to the driveway to get to the front door. Before you went inside, you looked back. Cove was halfway to his house, his hands shoved in his pockets. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. We ain't doing nothing about that deal. We didn't do anything wrong. We didn't take a single bribe. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You might change your mind sometime. There was always tomorrow after all. But for now, it was definitely something that you'd keep to yourself. We are keeping it to ourselves. Why do we have to tell anyone anything? We don't have to tell anyone anything. We didn't do anything wrong. Okay, let's do one more before I call it for today. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your mums had left the two of you, along with Lizzie, to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mummy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. The three of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt like it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly, A light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. They're always inside telling everyone they're too busy to play.
Why?
Why?
Duh.
I said why. And it'll be fun, duh. What do they do inside that we don't, besides using the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decided to ignore Cove.
What do you think?
Tiny, what do you think? Do you want to? Cove said it doesn't sound fun. I bet we can come up with something else. No, I want to. Yeah, that sounds boring. But that's what I'm going to do, and it's not as fun when I play pretend adults by myself. Do you do that a lot? This dude's so rude. What's it to you? Looking at Lizzie, it seemed Cole felt he could understand where she was coming from on his side. Do you really not want to play, Tiny? It was clear he wanted some way out, but still felt guilty about it. I'll try it, but that sounds boring. Okay, I'll stay. Sorry, I have other stuff to do. I don't want to play. It sounds boring. It's not gonna be, I guarantee. Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you. Okay, I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Tiny, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? Yep. But there's other kinds of sports too.
Right?
It isn't the same. What do you think, Tiny? Don't those choices sound super cool? You want to be that, huh? I kind of like those, it really doesn't. Haha, it sounds like a blast. Isn't there anything else we can be? You nodded, maybe not. I don't want to play. Oh no, we're making her angry. Lizzie pouted, resting her hands on her hips and tapping her foot impatiently. Well, too bad. I made the plan and you're part of it, so choose one already. Cole was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it for now. You thought over the list of possibilities: beach, volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you preferred to play gymnastics. If you couldn't spend the afternoon doing cartwheels and handstands in the backyard, you might as well practice them inside. There wouldn't be as much space as... Oh wait, I chose gymnastics, but he's got a cast on his hand. Oh well. There wouldn't be as much space as there was outside, but you could still try. Yes, that was clearly the top option. Okay, I'm gonna be a gymnast.
Alright!
How about you, Cove? I picked volleyball. I should have known. Okay, so Tiny, you're a famous gymnast, and Cove, you're on a popular beach volleyball team, and... Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide. We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics. Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific.
Rude.
Ugh. That's what makes it fun. Anyway, Lizzie marched back and forth in front of the both of you, getting lost in her own imagination. I won all gold medals and people are calling me the next Mickey, right? Who's that? Lizzie stopped on a spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Cove, your team was bronze, and Tiny, you barely missed out on the gold and got silver. It's more real if we're not all first place. Silver sucks, so don't want silver. I'm okay with that. Hey, we can do better than silver. Silver's not bad. Nice, you stay silent. You stayed silent and looked at your hands. Next to you, Cove leaned towards Lizzie with a frown.
Sorry.
Lots of people lose at Olympics. Them's the breaks. Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way! It wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game. She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball. So what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him apparently, because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm gonna live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue. That's kind of boring. We already have that. No, not like the normal houses here with a street on it, right on the sand, by the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. This kid can't... Can I catch a break? Oh, at least he's still smiling. I was about to say, why is there tension again? You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you'd want to live. That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells. But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him. Didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything? Jeez. Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing.
It's not fair.
How come you are yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her sides. It is not impossible, and it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand, this time you thought, you'd prefer a mansion, being on the beach was cooler, you wanted to agree with Lizzie, Cole was right, you were tired of deciding to leave them. I am tired. Why is this kid always in arguments with other people? You didn't engage in their bickering and instead dreamt up your own dream house. And you weren't going to share your idea with them either. You already knew it was a good one. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach. We can still swim anytime we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything. Says you. The two of them scowled at each other. You're being so unreasonable. You... I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. It does. You have to be realistic. I said that. But you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seems like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mum walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging on to the hem of her shirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie, Tinee, it's time to get ready to go.
You alright with that?
Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mummy said she'll walk you home so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. I can go by myself, but... Without giving Mum a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight.
Huh?
Okay. Worried, Mum turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you? You told the truth. You lied. We're telling the truth, man. These kids just keep arguing for the sake of it. We were playing pretend and things got intense. They were like cats and dogs. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed as Mum put both hands on her hips. Elizabeth! I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown. I know, I tried, but he was...
That's enough.
No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're going to apologize to Kobe and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Wait, why does she get in trouble? Lizzie hung her head, dragging her foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You caught piece of Lizzie soaking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. Ah, right. We better get a move on.
Let's go.
Let's go, kids. Nolani? Where did you leave the car keys? Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say anything. Your parents noticed she wasn't in the mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. You picked your favourite song. It was Make the Car Ride More Fun. You chose the soundtrack to a cool movie you saw a couple months ago. You chose a song you knew Lizzie liked, really cheer up. Let's try and cheer up our sister. You were happy to see it brightened her up right away, and she started singing along with you. Soon enough, her bad mood was a thing of the past. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hours watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. Wait, did we seriously go all the way to like golf just to watch her play golf? How boring. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your mums and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your mums took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting. You hadn't been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that all this helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, but only the radio provided an escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wriggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got back home. Clearly she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mum was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened their doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips.
So,
Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in his driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good. Let's move this to the kitchen. Mum went over to the house phone, the rest of you following behind her. Mummy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. You didn't regret it. You felt a little guilty, like you had betrayed your sister. You didn't like doing it, but you had to. It was her fault for doing it in the first place. Why do we have to feel guilty? Okay, I feel a little bit guilty. You could still remember the look on Lizzie's face. There was no doubt she felt that way about it. She was being pushy, though. You and your sister didn't always get along, but you cared about each other. This wouldn't change that, you thought. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. You remember the number for Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and began to dial. Why do we all have to be here? Mum reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening, Holden residence. Lizzie looked over at Mummy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Lizzie Games. What a surprise. But of course you can say hey to the boy. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mum spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. Nolani, Tiny and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. You spoke up to say hello too, said Mum to Cove's dad. Yeah, let's just not say anything. You shifted from one foot to another but remained where you were. The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mummy was quick to reassure him. No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?
What?
A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good you didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because you could still hear him calling out. Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you. It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided, since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad.
Hi.
Hello? Hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know, Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away.
Sorry.
I just called to say, I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too because he sighed quietly. I want gold. Lizzie was momentarily stunned, silent, padded demand. You couldn't understand why that mattered so much to him. Alright, you win the gold. Okay, I guess I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone at his acceptance of the apology. Mum uncrossed her arms while Mummy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrow raised up. You wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie. Bye. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mum replied, Lizzie tugged on Mummy's hand to catch her attention. Can I go now too?
Good job.
Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologising to Cove. Mum flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mum and Mummy returned to the phone, taking it off the speaker. They continued to talk to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mum and Mummy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. Okay, so we've done the shopping, grown up and sandcastle moments that are available to us, and there's still 2 more that I think I'll do next time. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna save the game, and then hopefully we will take off from where we stopped. So far, I don't think I like the main character. Is that bad? I wonder what he's going to be like in the second section when we're like teenagers. But so far, he's rude and whiny. But I suppose it's because he just moved into a new place, right? Anyways, I will see you next time. Bye for now.